Final week of the regular season in World Baseball. We'll get into the storylines with playoffs imminent. A future Hall of Famer hits an NPB milestone. We'll look back on the career of one of the greats and ask if he's got more in the tank. A Burnley defender makes infamous, horrific history against Manchester City at the weekend. Pray for Maxime Esteve. And a team badly needing a World Cup win in qualifying is likely going to have it stripped after an eligibility appeal. All this and more on this week's edition of the International Sports Report. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the International Sports Report. Marshall Lamert, Matthew Giesecke alongside me as always for another exciting week. MG, it's getting down to the wire here. Business end of things in world football and world hockey and playoff baseball upon us the world over. Obviously, things already getting started here in America for playoff baseball, but mostly just makeup games this week. But some of them still matter. It's gonna get a little bit crazy. Are you ready to properly preview the playoffs?
Oh, yes.
Good. I figured you would be. But before we get there, gotta give the flowers to Masahiro Tanaka, who finally got his 200th win. When you combine his NPB and MLB numbers, that was win number 128 in Japan. So congratulations to Masa. He gets it in the 4-2 victory for the Yomiuri Giants over the Chunichi Dragons on Tuesday night. And so you're probably familiar with his work with the Yankees, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah.
But he is a Japan Series champion with the Rakuten Golden Eagles, including 2 saves. He's only got 2 saves in his career. Both of them came in the playoffs. And save number 2 was Game 7 of the 2013 Japan Series
Oh,
against the Yomiuri Giants in a year that the Tohoku region was still recovering from the unbelievable earthquake that rocked it and the world. He was kind of a spiritual leader for both that community and honestly the country of Japan as a whole. He kind of put the team on his back and he won, I think it was 25 games in the regular season. I'll have to double check that figure, but I mean he just was instrumental and had a perfect, beautiful, romantic season, honestly, before he went over to MLB. But of course, he came back after the pandemic, pitched with the Eagles for a little bit, and is now with the Giants. But congratulations to a legend, and cannot wait to see what he does next because he's had a little bit of a little bit of a rough season up to this point in time. He's probably cooked, but I mean, hey, you never know, right?
yep. Never know.
Yeah. Anyway, shifting to football, we got 2 stories on that front. The South African national football team. This one is interesting. We don't often hear about this part of the region when it comes to World Cup qualifying, but it is nearly upon us. But South Africa has been on a 6-match undefeated run in their qualifying matches, so good for them. Top of the group after a recent 1-1 draw with Nigeria, who is always dangerous. But one of those 6 games is about to be overturned. And actually, as of recording this, it has been overturned. It was a 2-0 victory over Lesotho that is not going to count because Teboho Makena, who is one of their midfielders, played in that game while he was supposed to be serving a suspension for too many yellow cards.
Oh.
I'm not sure if this is like an accidental oversight or maybe a deliberate oversight, and people were hoping that they weren't going to notice.
The
But
FIFA just wouldn't notice.
yeah, I don't know what the management was thinking. But either way, a 2-0 win and 3 points that gave them a decent enough lead on top
Yeah.
of this group has now turned into a 3-0 forfeit and has brought them even on goal difference with Benin. So
Oh boy.
now they have to win to qualify for the World Cup, and they have to do it against Rwanda, who was
Oh
the only
boy.
team to beat them before they went on that run.
Oh, we could be spared from vuvuzelas. One more World Cup.
Come on, Rwanda. But anyway, gotta stay with football here for this last one because my goodness, we picked this as our game of the week in the Premier League this past match day, and I'm kind of glad we did for a number of reasons because it was a fun match to watch. But pray for Maxime Esteve, who had probably the worst day of his life
I
for
would.
Burnley against City. We're going to get into it fully when we get into our games of the week. But Esteve, just the 6th player in the history of the Prem to surrender 2 own goals in one
Oh.
game.
Oh, brutal.
You wouldn't wish it on your worst enemy. But yeah, like I said, we're keep watching. We're going to talk about that game in full because it was complete and utter madness coming right up, as a matter of fact. But we got to get to it here because, as we said, mostly makeup games this week in Japan and Korea, but KBO and CBPL still all to play for. Even these suspiciously delayed games that they might not seem like much, but there could be quite the shakeup. The MLB playoff field is already pretty crazy, but it may be even more so internationally. So let's get to it. Without much further ado, let's see how the games of the week for September the 23rd turned out. So as we get into it, we start in England. As it turns out, Burnley versus Liverpool was a fluke, and Manchester City might be good again. Jaden Anthony scores for the Claret crew, but Erling Haaland nets 2 in garbage time. Mateus Nunes gets the scoring started early for the Citizens, and Maxime Esteve, as we said, just a complete day to forget. 2 own goals to balloon the score to 5-1. Man City over Burnley. Good Lord. In the Netherlands, good day at the office for Feyenoord. Ueda ISA gets the goal, and Groningen goes down to 10 men. It never looked too difficult for the leaders. They are still unbeaten and still in the lead in the league. In Italy, if you are not watching Serie A after this incredible run of games of the week in Italy, you should be. Case in point, AC Milan versus Napoli. Pervis Estupiñán sends Milan down to 10 men. Former City great Kevin De Bruyne converts the pen for Napoli, but the problem for the Naples club is that Milan was already 2-0 up when that happened, thanks to Alexis Salamakers and Christian Pulisic. A terrific stand by Mike Maignan and his 3-man back line. They hold on for a 2-1 win to catapult themselves to the top of Serie A. Just awesome stuff. In Germany, bad time for St. Pauli on the weekend. The Giants appears to have woken up. Edmund Tapsoba breaks through to give Leverkusen an early lead. Alcaval finds the equalizer quickly about 7 minutes later, but Ernest Poku gives Leverkusen the lead in the 58th minute, and that turned out to be the winner. Shame, really, but St. Pauli hung with them all match long. There just wasn't really enough to get them points from this matchup. It ends 2-1. Weekend series in Japan, Giants versus Bay Stars. They split things down the middle in a 2-game set. Bay Stars win a thriller on Friday. Masayuki Kuwahara and Yoshi Satsugo each notch a pair of hits, and Satsugo adding 2 RBIs and 3 walks with a 4-run total in the first 2 innings. The Giants barrel Kohei Azuma, but he does not break. Bay Stars win 5-4. Game 2, one of the games of the year in NPB. Bay Stars hit 3 bombs, courtesy of Kuwahara, Keita Sano, and Tatsuo Abina. Bay Stars lead 6-1 after 4, 8-4 after 8, but powered by huge games from Troy Cabbage, who I guess heard me talking about him last time, and Kazuma Okamoto, each with 4 hits. Okamoto responsible for 3 RBIs. Giants turn the game on its head with a 5-run 9th inning and win 9-8. In Korea, big 4-game series, 1 versus 2, Eagles versus Twins. 3-game separation between the two clubs going into the weekend. Yanni Chirinos pitches well for the Twins in Game 1, but the Eagles strike the bullpen with a 4-run 7th inning. Station to station hitting after an error, and it finishes 4-1 in favor of the Eagles. Twins strike back in Game 2. William Tolhurst goes 6, striking out 7, surrendering just 2 earned runs. Eagles' staff day goes horrifically bad. 9 runs on 17 hits given up, including 6 in the first inning alone. 9-2 your final in Game 2. Game 3 was canceled, and the series would be decided the next day in Game 4. Im Chong-kyu's down year continues for the Twins, unfortunately. 4 runs on 8 hits, including another big inning in the 6th. Eagles win 7-3, and the series 2-1. In Taiwan, oh boy, did the brothers pull one out on the weekend when they needed it most. The Game 1 hero was a franchise legend. Third baseman Wong Wei-chen goes 3 for 5 with 1 RBI and 2 runs scored, with a double and a triple in that mix, just galvanizing the squad and sparking them to a 5-run 9th inning to take a 7-run lead into the bottom of the 9th. The Monkeys hammered their bullpen though, but it could not get it over the top, coming up short 7-5 in Game 1. And that was all the magic the Monkeys had, I suppose, because they had no answers for Nivaldo Rodriguez. The Brothers win 4-0, and in doing so, one more Monkeys loss, and Brothers win will wrap up the second half for the Brothers in 2025.
In Sweden, HV strike first, finding the back of the net on the first shot of the game. Rusek gets a breakaway off the corner and slots a feed to Justin Klus, who scores a cheeky deflection off his wrist and over the shoulder of Timrå Johansson just 58 seconds into the game. But Timrå would answer with one of their own minutes later on a one-timer from Albin Sundin. HV reclaimed the lead with 5 to play in the first as Hugo Franson nets his own rebound from the slot. Timrå struck early twice in the second, goals from Anton Lander and Didrik Stromberg. The second period went from bad to worse for HV, as Isak Brandstrom is handed a major penalty and a game misconduct for a slash against Linus Nassen.
Ugh.
And Jonathan Dahlen snaps one through on the power play. Hockey is a game of momentum, and Timrå's 3-goal second period proved too much for this beleaguered HV side as they continue searching for their first win of the season. They'd get one back late in the third on a one-timer from Axel Rindell, but it was too little too late. TIK took this one 4-3. In Liga, it was an overtime thriller in Finland as Ilves and Kalpa faced off on Saturday. Kusarik opened the scoring for Ilves on a long snapshot, but Kalpa's Jaakko Rissanen evened the score with 2 seconds remaining in the first. Borg and Hartikainen traded goals in the second, and another period ends tied. Hartikainen finds the back of the net again to start the third to give Kalpa its third lead of the night, but Hedman tied the game minutes later, and Toruk followed to give Ilves their lead with 6.5 to play. Mainpaa manages to tie it for Kalpa, but this one is going to overtime. Curry finds a breakaway in the OT period and buries it past Tappinen, and Kalpa take this one 5-4. In the Deutsche Eishockey League, das Oberbayern Derby, if you weren't watching, you should have been. It lived up to the hype, as Ingolstadt's Riley Barber only needed 3 minutes to make it 4 goals in 5. Skating through the Red Bull defense and going bar down at the far corner. The Panthers keep their foot on the gas, with Alex Breton finding the back of the net in the final seconds of the first. Barber strikes again from the slot to start the second, but this time Red Bull has an answer in a long wrister from Christopher D'Souza that trickles through the 5-hole of Devin Williams just 1 minute 28 seconds later. Maximilian Castor nets a clapper short-handed to make it 3-2, but Daniel Pieta hits an unbelievable redirect behind his back on a feed from Rosa Preto to restore a 2-goal lead for the Panthers. This Munich side won't go down easy though, and D'Souza scores his second of the night just 38 seconds into the final period. Riley Barber completes the hat trick on the power play with a snapshot from above the circle, and Powell finishes the job with an empty net goal. Ingolstadt take this one 6-3. And moving on to the EIHL, it was an exciting one in Scotland. Dundee get a penalty shot early on, but Nos is unable to capitalize on the opportunity. Fife's Johan Torsberger nets 2 in quick succession, and Bradley Schoenberg gets 1 back for Dundee. Dundee nets 2 to start the second from Olsen and Nos, but Sturm and Jameson of Fife answer with 2 of their own just 25 seconds apart. Schoenberg gets his second of the evening 7 minutes and 33 seconds into the third, and that would be enough to send this one to overtime, where Dundee's Matt Barry secures the comeback win for the Stars 5-4.
Painful stuff. I was really hoping that Fife could pull that one out, but there it is.
That was a nuts one.
I know. But anyway,
point.
All right, here are our final look at the NPB standings, your playoff picture set in both leagues. Hanshin, DNA, and Yomiuri locking it up. In Central League, Hawks, Fighters, and Buffaloes, your 3 playoff teams in Pacific League. We'll get into the matchups here imminently, but these are your series going into next week. Or I should say the week after, since we have one final week of games to wrap up. In Korea, the LG Twins hanging on to that number 1 spot by just a game and a half. The Eagles have a good week, and they will be catapulting themselves to that all-important automatic Korean Series bid. Not going to see too many other shakeups, I would think, aside from 5 and 6. It could be a little bit of a shuffle between the Wiz and Dinos. Shame about the Lotte Giants. They were looking like they might pull this one out for a little bit there, but one bad week has sank their playoff hopes. In CBPL, as we said, our second half standings, brothers looking like they're going to wrap this one up in a matter of hours, honestly, as of the recording of this video. Monkeys 3.5 back, Lions 4.5, but they are already your first half champions, and we will be seeing them in the playoffs regardless. For the Monkeys, it's just going to be a question of whether or not they can finish the regular season off in style and give themselves a shot with that third place wild card bid. Going to England, Liverpool remaining in front, but after their loss against Crystal Palace and their defeat to Galatasaray in the Champions League, they are looking pretty vulnerable, all at the top of that. Crystal Palace has catapulted themselves into third place by themselves, and a joint fourth with Spurs ahead of Sunderland, of all teams, on goal difference. In the Netherlands, a full 3-point lead for Feyenoord. They continue to play excellent football. Honestly. But PSV and Ajax remaining your top 3. Ajax continues to sputter. PSV still not quite looking like themselves out there, it must be said. Into the Serie A, your new leaders, AC Milan, joint top on goal difference with Napoli and AS Roma. Not too far behind them. They are also in joint top position, but they are a goal behind on the old GD. Juventus rounding out your top 4. And then finally, in the Bundesliga, it is Bayern up front, Dortmund behind by just 2, and RB Leipzig storming up to take third place after a good match day for them. And then finally, we give you a look at the F1 standings before we head over to the hockey tables, because we're going to be talking about F1. We had a week off, but we are going in to the all-important Singapore Grand Prix. This is the situation. Oscar Piastri ahead by 25 points. Matt failing me there for just a moment. And perhaps a late charge for Max Verstappen in the cards. No other changes to the standings to report. And with that, let's kick it over to the hockey tables.
Starting with the Champions Hockey League. No games this week, so no change there, but we will be seeing a very different table by the next time you see us. In Sweden, Frölunda and Vaxo remain the only unbeaten teams hanging on to the top of that board. Vaxo 1 game behind Frölunda, We'll see what happens on that. In the Deutsche Eishockey-Liga, Adler Mannheim continue their incredible start to the season. One overtime loss, the only negative against that squad this year. Frankfurt down at the other end continue looking for that first win of the season in regulation. They got one in overtime, but not in regulation yet, and they desperately need some points to stay alive. In Finland, Tappara hanging on at the top with JYP and Kiko Espoo right there with them, all at 18 points this young season. Ilves continue to disappoint after a really nice year last year, hanging out at 13th this season. And finally, in the EIHL, we've got one more game to talk about. Nottingham has played now, winning their game. So we are 2 games into this season, but there will be much more action coming to you shortly from the EIHL as the Challenge Cup wraps up their October slate.
Yeah, watch this space. Speaking of games we need to talk about, here is an outlook for the weekend and into next week. Your games of the week beginning in England. Liverpool versus Chelsea, the marquee matchup of Saturday, 12:30 p.m. on the NBC family of networks. The Reds fell, as we said, against Crystal Palace and Galatasaray, and this Chelsea team is lethal despite being lower in the table. Cole Palmer's haircut and football skills are both nightmare fuel. Now might be a good time to strike slotsmen while they are down. In the Netherlands on Sunday at 2 p.m. Good for Nick Nijmegen, honestly, against AZ last time out. Now they'll face a talented and fun to watch Go-Ahead Eagles team to see if they can hang around toward the top. No one except Feyenoord looking truly invincible right now. And as an Ajax fan, you can tell how much that pains me to say. In Italy on Sunday at 2:45 on ESPN Plus. Rather, on Paramount Plus, excuse me. Got to keep the microscope on AC Milan this week. They will battle Dusan Vlahovic and Juventus as they look to try and build a lead. They're ahead of Napoli on just goal difference at the moment. In Germany on Saturday, 9:30 a.m. on ESPN Plus, Dortmund versus Leipzig 2 versus 3. Karaman Yemi for Dortmund and Romelu and Johan Bakayoko on the attack for Leipzig. Should be an absolute goal fest. Going to baseball in our final week of the regular season. Not a meaningful game, but final regular season game for the PL winning Hawks, looking to finish strong before they have to wait for their opponents, and they will do it against the Chiba Basement Dwellers. Sorry, MG. KBO. After a tough stretch following the series loss to the Eagles, the Twins are hanging on to the top spot by a thread. Make-up games this week as well, but Friday is their last game. On Wednesday is their last game against the NC Dinos. Do not miss it. And then finally, in Taiwan, we should be seeing a Taiwan series preview on Sunday. Lions versus Brothers if the predictable result holds.
In Sweden, we've got 6th place Skellefteå traveling to number 2 Vaxo, with both squads looking to improve their position. Vaxo has allowed just 2 goals per game so far this season. Can the high-powered offense of the Skellefteå squad break that dam? In the DEL, Leuven Frankfurt continue looking for their first regulation win of the season as they host mid-table Kölner Haie this Saturday at 1. The Sharks will be looking to keep their momentum going, and Frankfurt desperately need a win. And we are, at long last, fully underway in the UK EIHL. And last year's runner-up Sheffield will play host to the Glasgow Clan on Sunday. Moving on to Finland, it is a weekend series for hockey. We've got Saipa hosting Sport in back-to-back games Friday and Saturday, both teams hunting for points in the early season. And your Champions Hockey League action will continue next week with a Matchday 5 split across the 7th and 8th of October. We will have a better picture of what the knockout round is going to look like when we come at you next week. Games will be available in the US with a subscription to IIHF.TV.
Yeah, I will make sure that that is linked in the video description. Champions Hockey League action happening next week. Speaking of things that are also happening next week, let's go to Singapore.
Let's do it.
My goodness, the drama. If we were talking like in July, and expecting Singapore to have the amount of stakes that it does going into this weekend. I mean, they would have thought we were nuts.
Yeah.
They really did. I mean, just what has happened to McLaren at this point in time? How did they manage to bottle this layup so badly?
A couple of bad start, a couple of bad, not finishing,
Yeah,
and then
for a start.
just I think it's clear now at this point of the season that when it is able to be, that Red Bull car is the fastest on the grid.
Yeah, I mean, in the certain tracks that it is built for, because it's not built for every track. I guess no car
No,
really is, but
when low downforce is where it excels versus low downforce. I mean, the McLaren just hates a low downforce course.
yeah, so it does, and it's just not like it's not like it's slow. It just has no control whatsoever.
Yeah,
So I don't know. I think you can't count Max out, especially if he
no.
has a solid pole. I believe I
Can
read
you
that
imagine?
it will be no Lewis Hamilton for Ferrari this weekend. He will be
Oh,
absent for the Scuderia, unfortunately. But I mean, you still have Charles Leclerc, and you don't really have
yeah,
anything to play for the rest of the season other than
yeah,
position, because I think Mercedes is looking like the most locked in team on the grid right now. I mean, they're ready to rumble, and for whatever reason, this George contract situation, even though it's not going away, isn't really affecting their form all that much, which is good news for the Merc fans, including my wife, who might be watching this video. Um, so there you go. I
I,
think this is
I think they're
probably going
very
to
well set
be.
up for 26.
Oh, sure, yeah. Lots of reasons to be optimistic.
Yeah.
They're pretty well set up for this weekend. Let's go ahead and lock it in here. I think we're going to see a double Mercedes podium this weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
I can get
Kimmy
behind
and
that.
George are both looking sharp. They're working very well together. Honestly, a la original Silver Arrows with Lewis and George. Um, I don't think either of them will probably win this race, but they could
No.
definitely stand for a podium. Just because that card is not race win fast enough. Some really crazy
I,
stuff is going to have to happen.
I could see a 2-3.
Yeah. I do think it is going to be a McLaren that wins this one, because Red Bull is not suited. As we said,
No.
this is not a low downforce track, especially late on at night and with the heat. I mean, there are so many variables going on. We will see some crashes. We will see some safety cars. I can guarantee you that, because it seems like we're
It's
just
just
not going to
not
have a
off
clean race
very
in
good.
2025. Um, if Oscar wins this race, I think it pretty much seals the deal.
It should pretty much seal it,
Yeah,
barring like Norris coming in second,
I think
which would prolong this race.
I'm going to have to probably crunch some numbers, but I think if Oscar wins and does not have a finish outside of the points for the rest of the season, he will lock it up. Probably by Mexico, if he keeps up his form, his normal form, I should say. And hopefully he's
Yeah.
using this 2 week period to reset. If he keeps up his normal form, I think he's probably going to be
Yeah.
okay. But
He's really
again,
only had two significant errors this season with Australia, that one corner in the wet, and then whatever happened at Baku.
just curse. I don't even know. Let's not think about Baku
Yeah,
anymore,
yeah.
because it was wild and mixed up and crazy. So Lando finishes second place, or even if he wins this race, we're having a very different conversation. And he
Yeah.
does do quite well on this course. Obviously, he won it last year. Um, yeah, it's going to be stakes. It's going to be some really, really serious stakes,
Oh,
in the
yeah.
early morning on a Sunday. So make sure that you do not miss it. Before we roll on here, give me a surprise team to watch out for uh, on the grid.
You know what? You know what? I want good things out of Williams.
You're going to probably get them. Honestly, after Carlos's insane finish and his new magic unicorn he's got on his helmet. Oh yeah, I like that choice. I like that choice. I'm gonna be different just for the sake of being different. Let's have another good finish for Sauber. Let's have
I would
two
like that.
Saubers in
I
the
would like to
points.
see that.
Fingers crossed. I would love to see Nico get into the top five again.
Yeah.
How that happens, your guess is as good as mine. But
Yeah.
hey, it's
Uh,
Singapore.
one more thing to touch on in the world of racing. Hearts with the Hamilton family as they lost Roscoe this week.
Yeah, I would be hard pressed to think that his absence has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
So let him mourn. The legend that he is. We'll miss you, Roscoe.
Yeah.
Forever iconic, and he started the dog dad trend amongst the drivers. So that
Yeah.
alone
The paddock's
makes
not going to be
him
the same.
yo certainly not, certainly not. And I'm hoping that Lewis comes back stronger, and
Yeah.
he just mows down the remaining circuits for the rest of the year in
That would be nice.
Roscoe's honor. But let's do our preview here for the Asian baseball playoffs.
Let's do it.
Starting in Japan, our matchups climax series Giants versus Bay Stars, Buffaloes versus Fighters. Which direction are you going?
Hey, we dogged on him very early on, but this Buffalo squad continues to make me look foolish.
They just don't die, do they?
They do not. I like Oryx. I like Oryx for this.
Really? Yeah. Even against a Fighters team that is hit exceptionally well all season long.
I was foolish to doubt Oryx at the start of the season. I gotta ride with him.
All right. Well, let him stick with it. I mean, you got a great ace in Hiro Miyagi, and then an offensive cornerstone in Yutaro Sugimoto. And yeah,
I mean,
I mean,
we thought they'd be
we look
finishing
at it
like sixth.
honestly. The Fighters have two-fifths of a solid rotation. Like their pitching is great, but it's not otherworldly. I
Right.
would say. So, all right, let's go with it. I'm gonna have to disagree with you on this because I think the
Sure.
Fighters hitting core is something quite special. And I'm gonna say they're gonna move on to the league championship series against the Hawks, but in Central League.
Central League. Hmm. Give me the Giants.
Yeah, I was thinking the same. They're riding the hot hand towards the end of the season here, and this Bay Stars offense is quite good, but their bullpen is just trash. And
Yeah.
they're not going to make it out of the league, mind you, because the Hanshin Tigers are going to trounce them.
Oh yeah.
We're not even going to bother
Oh yeah.
telling you about the league championship series in Central League because it's going to be probably one of the darkest moments in Giants franchise history, if you had to ask. Unless they're expecting to lose, in which case that might make it a little bit easier to bear. But
Yeah.
there you go.
But this Hanshin squad is just going to eat
hmm
them.
It's going to be ugly, and to be terribly honest with you, I don't think Big Boss has it in him to make it to the Japan series at the moment. His pitching, they've let too many games get away from him at this point. I love Ito. He's a terrific ace, and they have their great hitting core with Monami and Reyes and Kiyomiya, but this Hawks pitching staff has proven more than up to the task to just become a wagon, and they're going to make it into the Japan series where, all right, say it with me now, the Tigers are going to sweep them in 4 games.
There, yeah, yeah. I
It's
hate
it's
predicting
just
a sweep, but I cannot see any other result.
yeah. I mean it would be a real drag if it was. But listen, most of the best hitters in the league play for Hanshin. The best pitchers in the league play for Hanshin. They're all young. They're all in their prime. And the Hawks are made up of a wily collection of veterans who have gone way past their posting window.
Yes.
So let's go. Hanshin Tigers sweeping the Japan series in 4 games, but obviously we'll be keeping an eye on proceedings if it gets shaken up. Rapid fire gauntlet. You ready? In the
Hit it.
KBO, Wiz versus Lions.
Lions.
Yep, my thinking exactly. The Wiz are just going to barely sneak it in here. It's a Mets and Reds situation. Lions versus Landers.
I'm going to stick with Lions.
Really? Okay. All right. I think I'm gonna go the opposite direction here on this. Jung Choi is gonna go into the Korean Baseball Hall of Fame that's currently getting built at the time of this recording. He's just a monster with the bat. And the Landers offense, I love them against the Lions pitching staff. They are not what they used to be. So Landers go through. You think Lions though, so we'll go Lions versus Twins for you.
LG.
LG, yeah, clean, clean. But that does mean they go in to the Korean series against the first place Hanwha Eagles.
It's Hanwha.
Yeah. In
I was
the
calling. I was predicting them to be good to start the year. I'm riding with those Eagles.
Pat your back, honestly. Their stable
They
of
got
foreign
the new
pitchers
ballpark.
is something to be envied the world over. I wouldn't be very surprised if any of them stick around in Korea next year,
Yeah,
because I think there's 2 of them at least who has a less than 1 ERA. I know
yeah, it's
Cody Ponce is 1.
unreal.
And then on the hitting side, you have the beast that is Rossi Juan, who might actually get a posting after this season. But I would love to see it because I want to see what he can do, especially with Hai Sung Kim doing his thing
Yeah,
after coming
it's
over
gonna be a
from Kiwoo.
very, very different Eagles squad next year.
Yeah, so enjoy this Korean series while you still can. I think, but yeah, these Twins are just not looking sharp. I mean, they may get
Yeah,
themselves the second seed, but I have a hard time thinking that they're going to be much of a threat. Honestly, there is a world where the Eagles play the Landers instead of the Twins in the Japan
yeah,
series, but I would still say that's probably outside the realm of smart money. And then finally,
probably.
CBPL, the eternal rivalry, Lions versus Brothers. I know you have some favorite players on that Brothers team already. So, are you thinking the Brothers pitching carries this?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so. I
yeah, I think you're right. Honestly, and I mentioned
think
in
it'll be a
our
close
in
one.
our game segment, but Wang Wei Chen is a franchise legend. He is a spark plug, a future legend of the game if he's not already one. And as long as he is in the lineup, do not count him out. He's just a hustler. He will turn games around just by putting the team on his back. And this is why usually I have to look at the stats, but I think the second half champions have a much better record in the Taiwan series than the first half champions do over the course of this league. So there's
Makes
your
sense.
look at the playoffs in Asian baseball, and it's going to be fun. I have links to watch listed in the description. Naver for KBO. You can watch a little bit of the playoffs on Pacific League TV and Tigers home games on Tora Tele. And CBPL TV is going to carry everything up to, and I believe through, the Taiwan series for you. So if you do want to watch along, and of course, we don't condone this, of course, but you look at the right places on Twitch, and we'll leave it there. But before we go, partner, let's talk about some goals, shall we? We'll start with
Let's
football. We're
do
doing
it.
hockey another day, but
Yep.
I pulled a little audible on you last week, and I apologize for doing that. But we're talking football, the greatest goals of all time. We got 6 of them here. You got 3. I've got 3. Let's do it. Why don't you begin?
All right. Well, I'm going to kick it off. 2016, the man, the myth, the legend, Jamie Vardy hits an absolute screamer off a very long pass from Riyad Mahrez on the volley from outside the box over the head of Liverpool's Mignolet.
Yeah,
Just
Simon Mignolet, I don't miss him.
incredible.
He was just a bottler. But that was a great goal. And I remember watching that goal live. It was It was not a great day, but it was a
He's
marvelous goal.
incredible. It kept us top of the league.
Yeah, no, it really really did. And then Mahrez went to Man City and turned into a pumpkin. But
Yep.
that's the
Well,
tragic side of it.
let's throw it over
I'll
to you, bud.
I'll counter with my favorite number 9 of all time, throwing it back to the Netherlands Euro 1988 squad in the final of that tournament. Marco van Basten, playing for AC Milan at the time, but obviously an Ajax legend. This play, this perfect total football play, starts with their center back Adrie van Tegelen intercepting the ball. He flies forward with just marvelous speed, and we're going to be honest, absolutely staggering BDE. Like you watch it and you just see the confidence Van Tegelen has when he's going in to the Russian defense. Just an easy layoff to the great Arnold Muren, who I think was 38 at the time. Just he played almost his whole career with Ajax. He was on the same team as Johan Cruyff in '73. So,
Wow.
he's just an all-time franchise legend for Ajax. Muren takes the ball, takes a single touch, hits this cross to the far post, and then Marco van Basten sees it coming. He's like, bet, I'm Marco van Basten, so I'm going to defy some physics real quick. Hits it with the side foot, cross the goal on the volley, and Rinat Desaev has absolutely no answers for it. Just a beautiful, beautiful goal. Probably the best in the history of the Euros, in my opinion. I'm a little biased, but there it is. You did well, though. You kept it to only one Leicester goal on this list.
Yeah.
So let's throw it to the 2015 Women's World Cup.
Yeah. USA versus Japan in the Women's World Cup.
This is a
Harley
great choice.
Lloyd from the center line in the 16th minute makes it a hat trick.
Yeah, I mean, it just took no time at all. I mean, that was I think they have to call it the Carly Lloyd game, right?
Have to.
Yeah,
A hat trick in 16 minutes?
it's written in stone. It's written in
Yeah.
stone. We were talking off air about this goal, and I said to you, this is probably the game that single-handedly galvanized the development of the Japanese women's soccer team.
I mean, you can only get embarrassed like that, like so many times before. Just how do you come back from that as a football association?
They did a pretty good job of it
Yeah,
for as we're talking about it 10 years later.
yeah.
They're dangerous
Oh yeah, no, they're in
year in,
great
year
spot
out.
now.
But yeah, my goodness.
Like,
I mean,
it's you gotta really rethink some things.
yeah. And for their sake, they did. But that's an all-time great game and an all-time great performance and a marvelous goal. So I
Yeah.
love that. I love that choice. We're staying in the World Cup for this next one. I'm really making you do your homework on this. But if you at home have seen any of these goals, let us know down in the comments. Let's take it back to a World Cup final in 1970 for the legendary Seleção team of that tournament. The great Brazilians. You had Pele. You had not Garrincha anymore, but Socrates. Just an invincible squad. So Pele takes the ball against Italy in the final, sends an easy layoff to his right, flying in at the speed of sound out of nowhere. Carlos Alberto hits a missile in the bottom left corner. One of the greatest all-around footballers to ever do it. And yeah, I mean, he was a prototypical one of these fullbacks these days that can pretty much do anything. It's like Trent
Yeah.
Alexander-Arnold, basically. Like, the good, just as good on attack as they are in defense. Trent's a horrible defender, so bad example. But he just zips out of nowhere and just hits this thing like a rocket and beats the Italian goalkeeper to give Brazil a lead that they would never, ever relinquish. So this is a beautiful goal. Loved it. Had to throw it in there. Found it just one of those delirious nights in doing research. And just, holy cow, it just blew my mind. So I had to throw it on there. Let's go to your last one here.
All right, back in 2012 in the Euros, Zlatan Ibrahimovic, his
Yep.
4-goal night versus England but the bicycle kick off a mishandled ball from Joe Hart from an incredible 30 yards out just slotted into the top corner.
Here's another game I was watching live. Sorry to all the England fans who might be watching this for re-traumatizing you. But yeah, you don't have to think about Joe Hart anymore. But this is nothing to take away from the beautiful Ibra performance in that game and the entire tournament. Honestly, Sweden didn't and end up getting it over the line, but Ibra just said, "I'm gonna be Ibra for a little bit," and which just was unstoppable. A beautiful goal, to be sure, and only Ibra could do that at that point in that moment. So this is a good choice. I'm gonna throw in my club bias here before we wrap up. 2005 Champions League semifinal, Liverpool versus Olympiacos. Mellor, lovely cushion header for Gerrard. What a hit, son! What a hit! I'm not even going to explain it because you already know. You can see it in your head. It's one of the most iconic calls of all time. I'll probably put it in the conclusion of the video, but there you go. I mean, I had to punctuate it in that way.
What's
it's probably the greatest Liverpool goal of all time.
Oh, easy.
Aside from maybe the Xabi Alonso penalty at Istanbul, but there it is.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There was a moment where Olympiacos might have thought that they were going to win the Champions League in 2005. That moment ended very quickly. So your greatest goals here on ISN, on the ISR, for the final week of September into October of 2025. We'll do another edition of Greatest Goals with hockey. Maybe not on next week's show, but we'll get into a little further into the hockey season, I think, before we do that. What do you say?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you very much for watching. As always, please do like and share this video if you enjoyed it, and you know somebody who would enjoy it right along with you. And be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon down below the video screen to be notified every single time we upload a new video. Let us know in the comments what your greatest football goals of all time are and who you got in Asian baseball playoffs. It's going to be a fun one. I do hope you enjoy it, and keep it tuned to ISR for all the updates. It's going to be a wild, wild month. So, for Matthew Giesecke, I've been Marshall Lamert. Thank you very much again for watching. We'll see you in the next one. But for now, that's the game.